In this lesson, we are going to be working with quadratic inequalities, so it will be very similar to what you have seen in the past. It's just that they will have inequality symbols in them. Here's our first example. It's asking us to graph the parabola, and it's asking us to shade because it has an inequality symbol in it. So anytime you see an inequality symbol, which is a greater than or less than sign like that, then you're going to need to shade one direction or the other. For right now, in order to do this, we are just going to simply pretend that there is an equal sign in here. So we are going to pretend that this just says negative x squared minus 6x minus 7 equals 0. And in order to shade this, we are going to complete the square so that we can get this into vertex form. So we first of all want to do that to be able to graph it, so we know where to put the line and then where to shade. So remember that when we complete the square, you want to leave anything that has an x in it on the left side of the equation, and anything that doesn't have an x in it, move it over to the right side. Also on the left side, if your a value, which is right here, is not 1, you need to factor that out. So what this is going to look like is this. I will take a negative out of the x squared, and then a negative times x squared gives me negative x squared. A negative times what should go here should be a negative 1 times that should give you negative 6x. So this is going to be positive 6x. Yeah, it should be positive 6x. Okay, negative times positive 6x gives me negative 6x. And then I'm going to have my blank in here, if you remember right. And then, of course, this 7 that was right here gets moved over. On the other side, it will be positive 7, and I will put my blank. Okay, then if you remember, you take half of your b value, or half of your middle number. This is your b right here. Half of 6 is 3, and then I square it. So half of 6 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. That's what goes in this blank. In this blank, you can't just put 9 if there's something out here. If there's something out in front, you need to distribute a negative times 9, and what goes on the right side is actually negative 9. Okay, now on the left side, we can factor this. I'll bring down the negative, and we can factor this as x plus 3 times x plus 3, and some of you can skip that step, and if that's you, that's great. I can rewrite that as x plus 3 squared then. And on the right side, I have 7 plus negative 9, which is negative 2. This is almost in vertex form. Now what I want to do to get this in vertex form is take this and bring it back to the other side of the equal sign so that I have negative x plus 3 squared plus 2. Okay, and now I'm going to remember that this is an inequality and where it started, which is right here, and I'm going to have y is greater than, just like it says at the beginning. Okay, so now this is a parabola, and I need to graph it, and so I'm going to remember my vertex form. Remember that your vertex is h, okay, and this is where your h is, and this is where your k is. And remember that your h, the normal vertex form formula, is y is x minus h squared plus k. So remember that this is really minus negative 3 right here. And so remember your h, when it comes out of that parentheses, gets the sign gets switched on it, and then your k stays the same sign. So in this case, my vertex is negative 3, 2. Okay, the one that's in the parentheses, the sign switches on. The one that's not in the parentheses, the sign stays the same. So my vertex is at negative 2. The a value, or the number out in front, which is this one right here, in this case my a is negative 1. That tells me two things. First of all, because it's a negative, I know that it opens down. And also, if my a value is 1, it gives me a hint as to how that parabola is going to be shaped, and I'm going to follow that top row of my little chart there. So the only difference on the chart is that my a value opens down instead of up. So where it says up right here, I'm actually going to move down. So from my vertex, I'm going to go down 1, right 1, and then down 3, right 1. And here's where my dots go. Because this is an inequality, I have to think about how I'm going to connect my dots, if I should connect them with a solid or a dotted line. So you're going to pay attention to the inequality symbol. right here. If it's not underlined, like this one isn't, it's just greater than, it's not greater than or equal to. If it's not underlined, you're going to connect them with a dotted line. So I'm going to make this parabola be a dotted line that looks something like that. And then that inequality symbol will also give you a hint about where to shade. So what this inequality is saying is I want you to shade all the parts of the parabola that are greater than this parabola right here. That's what that means. That's how you read that sentence. Shade all the parts that are greater than the parabola. That basically means above the line of the parabola. So you are going to shade everything up here. Okay? And that's how that one goes. We are actually going to skip number 2. No, we're not going to skip number 2. We're going to do number 2. I want to do number 2 a little bit of a different way so that I can show you how this works. I want to remind you of what we did the first couple days of this chapter as another way to do this. So what I'm going to do this time is I am going to have you find the vertex by finding first the axis of symmetry and then plugging it in. So if you remember from the very first day that we did quadratics, we learned the equation for the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. And remember that a is the number in front of the x squared. So in this term, the a is 1. The b is the number in front of the x. So in this case, the b is 4. The c is your constant, which I don't have one in this case. So my c is 0. It doesn't really matter. I don't need it. But for this particular problem, the opposite of b is 4, so the opposite of b is negative 4 over 2 times a, which is 1. So I have negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Okay, that's my axis of symmetry. And then if you remember, you plug that in to get your vertex. Okay, so now I'm going to take this. I will plug it into the equation for my x values. So I will have negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And so I get negative 4. Okay. Those two things that are circled are the coordinates for your vertex. So that means that my vertex is negative 2, negative 4. And I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So negative 2, negative 4 goes right here. Okay. I can tell that because my a value right here is positive, it's going to be a parabola that opens up. I can also see that since my a value is 1, I'm going to use this row of my chart right here. Okay, so I will go up 1, right 1, and then up 3, right 1, and left also. Okay. I need to think about whether I should connect these with a solid or dotted line. Since my inequality symbol in the problem, which is right here, my inequality symbol is underlined, so I am going to connect them with a solid line. Okay, and then I need to shade, and so this is saying shade all the spots that are less than or equal to the parabola. Okay, all the spots that are less than or equal to the parabola will be below the parabola. So I will shade everything underneath those lines, and I will shade out there. All right, and then we are going to skip number 3. And we will go to 4, and we're going to do 4 again by completing the square so that we can get some more practice with that. Okay, again, we are going to pretend that this says negative 4x squared plus 16x minus 11 equals 0. So to complete the square, I have to move this to the other side, first of all, so that becomes an 11 over there. On the left side, that's these right here, I need to leave all of my x's, but I need to factor out a negative 4 because my a value needs to be 1 to complete the square. So I will factor out a negative 4, and then I will have x squared minus 4x because negative 4 times negative 4x gives me positive 16x. And then I need my blank in there, and of course you need your blank on the other side. Okay, then I'll take half of my b value, there's my b. I'll take half of negative 4, which is negative 2, square negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. That's what goes here. But again, remember you need to distribute. So I need to take -4 times +4, which is -16, to get that number over there. Okay. And now, for those of you that need to see it, this factors as x minus 2 times x minus 2, which of course you can rewrite as x minus 2 squared. And then on the right side, 11 plus -16 is -5. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it back to the other side. When I move it back to the other side, it will be +5. And then I'm going to remember that this is an inequality, and I'm going to bring this down. Okay? So here we go. This is in vertex form now. My vertex comes from here. This is my x-coordinate. This is my y-coordinate. Remember the one that's in parentheses, the sign gets switched on. So my vertex is actually 2, 5. Okay, so I'm going to graph that vertex, 2, 5, which goes right here. Then I can see because my a value, which is right here, is negative, it's going to be a parabola that opens down. And my a is -4. And I don't have 4 on my little chart that tells us how to move, but I hope you can see a pattern. I want you to notice that this goes 1, 2, 3. Guess what? The next number is up 4, right 1 on the chart. And then here it goes 3, 6, 9. So the next one is up 12, right 1. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use, except for this one goes down instead of up. So I'm going to use that chart and I'm going to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to go down 4, right 1, and then down 12, right 1. Oops. Okay, and then same thing on the other side. And it should look something like this. Okay. Then you need to decide, are you going to connect those dots with a solid or dotted line? And your inequality symbol, which is right here, is underlined. And so you are going to make that be connected with a solid line. Okay. And then I need to think about where to shade. And this is asking me to shade all the places that are smaller than or less than or equal to the parabola. So all the places that are smaller than the parabola will be underneath the parabola. So in this case, that's the inside of the parabola. Okay? And that should do it for this lesson.